My name is Jenny Jax. You might recognise me as Queen Judith from Vikings. This video is to show my support for J4ME. Right, okay, I'm going to try and stick to my draft script, because if I go off on a tangent too much and start ad-libbing, not only am I going to use energy that I don't actually have, because I've got ME and it's like having a broken iPhone battery, but also I'm not going to get my point across clearly. So let's go back to the script. All directors out there that have worked with me will be like, oh, she doesn't even follow the script she's written herself. Okay, I'm going to begin with great news. Recently, ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis, is finally being recognised for the monster it truly is. And I really don't say that lightly. The tide is turning. It has turned. Mainstream media, journalists, they are exposing the fraudulent science that was once pushed by psychiatry decades ago. Don't get me wrong, there are still some dinosaurs out there trying to harp on about it, but they sound silly. The lies have officially been debunked for many, many years on this topic. We know ME is a neuroimmunometabolic disease. We've had the fantastic Decode ME results pointing to the genetics side of this illness, highlighting the nervous system and the immune system, etc., etc. I could go on and on. It's just been so amazing to finally see headlines in the Times, the Mirror, the Atlantic, etc. You know, even the UK government beginning to admit they were missiled. Yeah, it's fantastic. If things are moving in such a brilliant direction and everybody's finally catching up, why am I here backing this patient-led legal challenge known as Justice for ME? Why are we dragging in lawyers and the courts if, as it seems to be, the medical community, the media, the government, everybody's finally catching up? Well, okay, hold your horses. The ship needs steering. Those in charge need some Queen Judith guidance. If you haven't seen Vikings, I play Queen Judith, so I know a thing or two about sorting out kings who lose the plot. This is a very long-winded way to say the new delivery plan for ME came out in July. It took 3 years. And yes, the incentive and parts of it gave me great hope for a moment. But then came the big but. Now I know we like big buts and we're gonna lie. It's not up to scratch. It's nowhere near good enough. It's not acceptable. And this is where I'm going to go from being funny to like wanting to cry. I'm going to try and keep the humour going. I wrote some jokes. I'm not a comedian. But writing a plan for ME without explicitly, this is just one example, without explicitly including PEM, that's post-exertional malaise. And you as the listener, if you don't have ME and you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. Because I'm going to give you some context so you can understand better. But it is like writing about diabetes and forgetting insulin, okay? It's like writing a cookbook on Italian food and leaving out the goddamn pasta and not mentioning pizza. Maybe adding a link to Domino's, because they do in fairness to, and I'm actually not blaming the people who wrote the plan. A lot changed politically over the 3 years that this plan was trying its best to be put together. And it does try, really does try. But a plan for epilepsy, for example, that doesn't have the word seizures in it. Yeah, it's that kind of vibe. I mean, the list could go on. I had loads of jokes. And I know I'm using humour here. I often do, but this neglect that I'm talking about destroys lives. The inquest into Maeve Boothby O'Neill's death exposed this systemic neglect of ME at a national level. So it's not just me saying it, it's not just my opinion, and unfortunately, it ain't just in the UK, it's worldwide. So yeah, At the very least, I expected the plan to contain an emergency or in-hospital protocol for severe and very severe ME. At the very least, it wasn't there. It's not even mentioned. As a person with ME, it frightens me. It took 3 years for the inquest into Maeve Boothby O'Neill's death to be heard, and the coroner wrote, "In my opinion, there is a risk that future deaths could occur unless action is taken." Actually, you know what? We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that statement. Let's read a few other things from Maeve Boothby O'Neill's Prevention of Future Deaths report. I will read this word for word. I might skip a few sentences here and there as long as it still gets the same message across and I don't change the language. During the course of evidence, it became clear there were no specialist hospitals or hospices, beds, wards, or other healthcare provision in England for patients with severe myalgic encephalomyelitis ME. How can you write a plan for ME and not address that? So in this particular case, it meant that the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital, where Maeve was admitted, had no commissioned service to treat Maeve and patients like her. Now, if you have ME, you know that this is horrible to say. I know that for me, as best I can, I will avoid going to hospital. And that's really dangerous because why do you go to hospital? Usually to be helped and to be treated. During the course of the inquest, it became clear that there was extremely limited training for doctors on ME CFS and how to treat it, especially in relation to severe ME. Action should be taken, in capitals. In my opinion, action should be taken to prevent future deaths, and I believe you have the power to take such action. I mean, I genuinely don't know how to spell it out any clearer. I'm actually going to repeat that. In my opinion, there is a risk that future deaths could occur unless action is taken. So that's in October 2024. Maeve died in October 2021 from medical neglect of ME. Then in July 2025, the government released this delivery plan that not only fails to mention a protocol for severe and very severe ME, but shows no sign of genuinely keeping a patient with ME alive in a hospital setting. My understanding is that Maeve was sent home 3 times, deemed medically fit, and on the 3rd time died at home. That is atrocious. And the question I've asked before, and I'll ask it again, how many more brilliant young lives do we need to lose before there's actual change? My own lived experience is undeniable proof of the systemic failure. I know that. And Maeve is not alone. There are other deaths, Sophia Mirza and Merrin Crofts. They also had inquests that revealed the same pattern of neglect in ME. I actually interviewed Merrin's mum and also her lovely sister, and it broke my heart. Merrin's autopsy revealed inflammation of her dorsal root ganglia. So that's inflammation of the nerve clusters on either side of her spinal cord. And her mom and her sister, amongst other horrendous episodes of neglect before they lost her, had a psychiatrist questioning why she likes Disney in her early 20s, because he was convinced that she had mental health issues, that this was not physical. And the same person completely changed his tune at the inquest once he understood what the autopsy revealed. I just have no words. I don't know what to say or what to do. I'm trying to be a good advocate for ME. I am limited myself. Just to add to that, Sophia Mirza, who I also mentioned, her post-mortem revealed that her spine contained massive infection. So look them up, please. Google severe and very severe ME, and you will understand, whether you have ME or not, that this delivery plan, however well-intentioned it may have started out, and I believe it did, unfortunately reads as an insult to the reality of what's happening. The only way for change to happen is to bring in the courts. So justice for ME is doing that, and for all the obvious reasons, I couldn't support it any more than I do. When I reread the plan, I had to dig deeper and actually, in conversation, came to understand who's behind the plan. Because at first I did find myself directing my frustration, that's a meek word, fire, anger at the DHSC civil servants because they're the policy experts, right? You know, these well-educated, smart people writing the plan. Then reading it is very obvious. They have worked very hard on this, but the drastic drop in staffing changes and the constant changes in the political leadership has obviously heavily infiltrated. You know, it's like, if you do read the plan, the rebranding of government policy over actually ensuring that people are cared for glares at you in black and white. Rebranding government policy is not the same as writing a plan that will prevent death and neglect. That's the line. That sums it up. So how do I've got my notes here and I'm trying to word this in a simple, meaningful, honest way. Instead of focusing on how to get a horrifically ill group of people who have been medically neglected back to work, start making the hospital a safe place for us to go. There, that's how I'll say it. The plan, it references the NICE guidelines, the new NICE guidelines, way, but it's nowhere near enough when we still see NHS doctors blatantly ignoring them. Young women are still being made worse by hospital admission with ME. There is no protocol. I feel like I'm on repeat now. Oh, isn't that the definition of insanity? So where you do the same thing and get the same result but keep doing it. Also, can I just add the fact that anybody even needs to be reminded in the medical field to follow the effing guidelines speaks volumes. Because it takes a very long time to change NICE guidelines. I mean, that is massive. And they removed graded exercise therapy, which is honestly as ridiculous as a doctor prescribing a patient with a broken leg to hop on it. PEM, post-exertional malaise, I'll put in like an excerpt at the end of this from a different video to explain what it is if you would like a clearer understanding. Whatever you do not go and read the new delivery plan to get an understanding because you won't even see it there. And PEM must be at the front and centre of the plan. Otherwise, everything is just lip service and absolutely nothing at all will change. It is at the heart of what ME is. And maybe, God, this might cause some controversy because I know we call it ME/CFS, but I would argue chronic fatigue syndrome is different to myalgic encephalomyelitis, and I'm actually doing my best at the moment to stop saying ME/CFS. It comes naturally because I've always called it that, and that's what I was pre-warned about in my medical notes in hospital when I was hospitalised with the severe acute viral infection, in inverted commas, post-viral syndrome, and I learned that was called ME/CFS. But the CFS part, chronic fatigue syndrome, is different. And I think it's the PEM, the post-exertional malaise, which is not explicit in the plan, is key to understanding that. The reason I'm going on about this is because if it's not written in black and white, then to some extent, no one can be held accountable. And we all know how dangerous that is. Vague references to the NICE guidelines, the new NICE guidelines, won't protect patients, especially when said guidelines are not fully being implemented. Hopefully they will. Hopefully doctors who are catching up will. Yeah, it's so hard. I'm trying to keep the fury, but sharpen the flow so I don't lose you. I don't want to lose you. Stay with me. Maybe if I sing, will that help? No, don't sing, Jenny. Do not sing. Yeah, all these broken notes. Broken, like me on a cellular level. I think I have spoken as calmly and clearly as I'm capable of, and then I'll do some sort of edit. Thank goodness for an edit. As promised, for anyone listening or watching who doesn't know what PEM is, post-exertional malaise, here's a clip from one of my other videos. A key way to diagnose ME is post-exertional malaise, and it's really specific. You do an activity and 12 to 24 hours later, you can be really severely disabled, and I'm talking bedridden for a long time. It can be a few days, it can be a few hours, it can be weeks. PEM is a core symptom of ME, and it refers to this worsening of symptoms after even minor physical, mental, or emotional exertion, the kind of activity that would not have caused any problem before the illness. Even at the milder end of the spectrum, I can still really struggle. Something as seemingly simple as taking a phone call can leave me extraordinarily drained and symptomatic. Symptoms may worsen hours or even a day or two after the activity. For some people, the delay can be even longer. PEM can be horrifically severe, completely out of proportion to the effort made. A crash, in inverted commas, can last for weeks, days, or even longer. Tragically, for some, a crash can become permanent, leading to long-term or irreversible deterioration. I don't have enough time to fully explain PEM, but I hope that you can gauge from this it's an absolute monster of an illness. For some people with ME, just the simple task of survival, breathing, eating, drinking can have dire consequences. We have got to fund the science, and we have got to get to the bottom of this tragic illness. There is still no emergency or in-hospital protocol for severe or very severe ME. With no protocol in place, people will continue to die. Justice for ME is fighting to hold the government accountable and to secure proper care, funding and recognition for people with ME. And we really need your help. If you're able to, donate. Otherwise, just spread the word. I played lots of different acting roles, invading your TV screens, before my career hit pause 7 years ago when I was invaded by a severe acute viral infection. I couldn't clear it from my blood, and unfortunately there were many other complications. I was eventually diagnosed with ME, and despite trying my absolute utmost to get better, I have spent the majority of the last 7 years often in a lot of pain, often housebound, and or bedridden. My story is not unique. I wish it was. But there are millions, and I mean millions, missing from their lives with the same. The devastating truth about this illness is any exertion can make ME worse.
Not even crying. My eyes are just watering. That light's hurting my eyes. The TV's killing me. I feel like there's 1,000 fucking needles in the fluid around my brain.
So while I feel extremely lucky to see any improvement, I am still disabled by ME, and I still have to pace myself with a very small energy envelope. Now, before ME, on the surface at least, I was fit, healthy and thriving. Since then, I have been on this roller coaster of ill health. The more severe your ME becomes, the more unsafe a trip to the hospital is. Let that sink in. Really think about it. The worse you get with an illness, the more dangerous it becomes to go to the hospital. There is still no emergency or in-hospital protocol for severe or very severe ME. This stigma and attitude has contributed heavily to the prevention of me getting diagnosed with severe vascular issues that can be fixed. Pelvic venous insufficiency, thoracic outlet syndrome. The valves in my veins aren't working. finally some
incurable
answers.
conditions that would probably take away an awful lot of your symptoms.
ME is capable of reducing quality of life to levels seen in the final stages of untreated AIDS. And our medical community are slowly catching up. But how many more lives, often young women, need to be lost before we see the long overdue systemic change? I believe justice for ME will result in justice for ME. I really do, wholeheartedly. I just hope it happens in my lifetime. I hope it to see the results in for our generation. If not, then the next generation of people with ME and people without ME